Hi all, welcome to demo for Databricks. So first of all, what you need to do as a prerequisite, you have to create a cluster. So I've created my cluster with the DBR version as 12.3 LGS, and then I'm going to name it as demo, Databricks demo. Okay, now what to do next? So once you have created your cluster, we have to execute the cells. So these are all the cells where you can execute either a Python code or a Scala code or a SQL code. Okay, we are going to use two as Python and SQL here. So first of all, I would like to create one data frame and a data table. How can I do that? So for doing that, I can either upload it to the DBFS. What is DBFS? Databricks file system. I can upload my data set where I can store it and use it further, or I can just quickly create a create table. So in the create table, it will ask me where is your data set, whether it is on S3 or Azure Data Factory or any other cloud like GCP or other data sources, right? So I don't have it on anywhere else. If you have, you can use those options and link it to your notebook. I have it available with me, so I just select and drop it over here. So I can drop the file. Where is my file? It's on my desktop, and I'm going to select it as sample demo. Okay, so I've selected that file and it is there. I will say next, create table and notebook. So I have created the table and notebook, and I'm going to connect it to my cluster. Which cluster? My cluster. And once it is connected with the cluster with the green dot, I'm going to run this. So here I'm defining certain parameters wherein it will, in order to create the data frame. So it has displayed the results like this. So what is it doing? Basically file location, the same file location which we have, file store tables. It is now stored in DBFS, Databricks file system. Now the type of the file was CSV, as we can infer from the extension also. And then I've created another parameter as infer schema automatically. I said false. So it says, if you see the schema over here, it has not inferred the schema as it is, right? So we can see it here. So it has automatically converted all the schema into a string, all the attributes or the columns of this data set into the string in this data frame, since we have defined the info schema parameter as false. So if you do it as true, I'll show you what happens next. So first row is header, I again defined as false. So we are not getting first row as a header. This is the first row we are getting, right? All 9 columns over here, right? And here you are getting, these are the header. So if you define it as true, then you are not going to see this C0, C1. Okay, you will see your header as your first row. Now delimiter, we have defined whether it is a pipe delimited, comma delimited. So this file was specifically CSV comma delimited, so we have defined a delimiter as comma. Alright, next is I have created a data frame. What is a data frame? It is going to store your data set in a tabular format, or in a table, you can say, as we are used to in databases, or in a columnar format, so you can access and query that. So in Python or Databricks, how you can access that? First you have to read that file. So in order to read that, we will define spark.read.format, okay, file type, or you can pass the location over here. So we have given the file type as CSV, okay, it will take CSV value in the parameter, then option infer schema. So infer schema, if I would have defined it as true, you can define it over here also, but I've already defined it earlier as false, so it will take this value. And now option header, as first row is header, again we have defined the value in this variable or the parameter. You can say, you can define it as true, or option as separated as delimiter and dot load file location. So it will take the file location and it will read the file from here. So once you do that, I'm going to use display my data frame. So where my data set is now stored, it is stored inside the DF data frame. Okay, so once we run that, there are 2 jobs running, we have already seen. So what is happening in these 2 jobs, we can see it over here. So you see it is scanning the data first, which it has collected, okay, and then it is performing certain partition operations on the back end. Okay, scan CSV file and then performing the partition. So if you see the first job, what it did, so in the first job, it has scanned the test and it has generated the whole code. And now, first it has inferred the schema automatically, and now it has displayed this. Now let's see if we do a different thing altogether. Here if I pass it as true, and again I pass the header, I want the header row as a first row. And if I run this, we will get to see now it is the job 4, right? So it is also maintaining the versions of your each run or each execution cycle. So now earlier we saw all the columns were string. Now you see each column has a specific infer schema. It has inferred from the file. So let's say if the sequence was an integer, now it has exactly the same replica of the schema. Okay, it has